Has anyone ever been to a wedding where someone actually objected? And if so, how did that go? Went to a wedding where they skipped a part because the bride's adult daughter was planning to object. The wedding was at the bride's house. They had thought out almost every detail except one. When the officiant got to the speak now or forever hold your peace part, cuckoo, 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 attended a wedding where the minister said something along the lines of, if anyone here objects to this marriage, you can keep your mouth shut. Today is not about you. My auntie's fiance was already married lady stood up waving marriage cert, so wedding didn't go ahead. The reception was on a long boat, so we still went to that. The fiance went back to home country to sort it out and never came back. I was at a small ceremony indoors, maybe 30 people tops listening. When the minister asked for any objections, a picture of the bride's dead grandmother that was hanging on the wall fell to the ground with a loud thump. We looked at each other, but the minister finished anyway. Divorced within a year. I objected. I took giving my sister away literally. I wasn't the brightest 3-year-old. In my cousin's wedding, her friend said, I object because she was not invited to the wedding. She was kicked out of the wedding. What are you starting to enjoy as you get older? The time that I can sit and do absolutely nothing. Cancelled plans. Sleep. When everyone shows up to the agreed upon place at the appointed time. All weather radials. Sleeping in on holidays and lazy days. No one knowing anything about me. When I was younger, I just wanted to be noticed, and now I don't want anyone to know anything about me. Time. Time to think, reflect, learn, read, and really get deep into any subject that captures my mind. I don't need much more than that to make me a very happy camper. Naps. 100 naps. 35 been going to bed at 8 p.m. and it feel luxurious. When I was a boy, my grandpa and I used to share Werther's originals. Well, now I'm the grandpa. Time to lie in bed and read. Time to do nothing, to do something I want, to get shit done. Never enough time in the day, unfortunately. Lazy beach vacations where it's perfectly acceptable to sit by the pool, ocean, and read all day. Oak after a morning walk. Oh, and aqua aerobics. Naps, not having to go anywhere unless I have to somewhere. Baseball. Jazz music. Non-fiction books. Things that are slow-paced and leisurely. Birds. Silence. What are you starting to hate as you get older? Traffic. I have no patience for traffic. Going out. Most of society. My best friend. Considered him as close as a brother the first 10 years of our friendship. But over the past 5 years, he's shown himself to be a much different person than I originally perceived. He's immature, selfish, and manipulative, with no drive to accomplish anything, not even his own goals. He's gotten to the point where I resent him and barely want to be around him anymore. Hate older I get, the more I want to get along. Humanity altogether. Age-related health conditions. How people drive. How expensive groceries are. Honestly. Online job applications. Lloyd Braun. How much some of my peers use their age to excuse their clothesman deadness. My malfunctioning body. Being out with some friends, haha, I mean they are great, but I love being at home. Life. Most pl have turned into dicks after COVID. Work my ass off to not being able to afford a roof over my head. I'm sick of this whole right versus left culture war shit because I think they are both wrong in a lot of aspects. People. Way too much. Gotta reel it at the proper old people in my life. Would you watch a show where a billionaire so has to go an entire month on their lowest paid employee's salary without access to any other resources than that of the employee? What do you think would happen? They'd be problem with poverty is not usually day-to-day costs. People can adjust to that. It's unexpected expenses that are crippling. Edit: why are people still responding 2 weeks later? Nobody's reading this thread anymore, at least not the responses at the bottom. Edit: rant was too whiny. If you have something to say, who am I to say otherwise? I doubt a month is enough to really feel the effect. It would be incredibly self-serving and boring. They would never truly experience what it is like to be in the precarious position of a minimum wage employee living hand to mouth, and the novelty is just salt in the wound. It would be more interesting to see the reverse. 3 months minimum, and I'd watch for the gold. I love reality shows, so I'd watch it depending on who produces it. If it's too fake, with too many emotional moments, advertising, and people shouting, I'm out. Isn't this almost the same as Secret Millionaire? Do you guys have that in the us? 1 month isn't long enough because no rent is due, etc. From one man to all, or men, what is your favorite book and what are you reading? My top S for 5. The Red Rising series, 6 books total. The Mistborn trilogy and Storm Light. Yuval Noah Harari had a trilogy that's about our past, present, and I had to choose my favorite out of them. It'll be the first one about our past, called A Brief History of Humankind. It's really interesting, and I enjoyed reading it. Favorite: The Hobbit by Tolkien. Currently reading The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. I am currently reading Every Man Dies Alone by Hans Fallada. Highly recommended. Favorite book: Hyperion by Dan. Reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Swan Song is my longtime favorite. Favorite book? Can't really say because I've read so little in my life. My first thought was Deception Point by Dan Brown, that I think sets the tone. I'm currently going through the Horus Heresy audiobooks from Warhammer in order, up to Nemesis right now. Yes, I'm a huge nerd. I liked A Twist of Faith, plus a lot of the other Star Trek novels that are not based on episodes. I wouldn't say those are my faves. I like books of fiction that I really can get immersed in. I'm also trying to get into westerns as well, here and there. Americans who are against the Biden student loan forgiveness. Why? I don't disagree with it per se, but without setting up systems to keep school costs in check, we will get this crisis to reoccur every few years as college costs keep skyrocketing. Before federal student loans were guaranteed, college was nowhere near this expensive. Loan forgiveness doesn't make sense unless you also stop giving out the loans. Universities were able to increase their tuitions so much because everyone was getting guaranteed student loans. And now you're putting down precedent that the loans can be forgiven. Does that sound wise to you? I'm against it as a solution, because schools will still charge ERCIR and lenders will still keep making ridiculous loans. If the actual student loan program were reevaluated, loan forgiveness wouldn't be an issue. I think cutting the interest to one makes more sense. It's fundamentally unfair to everyone who paid their loans. Nothing is being forgiven, it is just being reassigned for others to pay, because it won't change the for more profit mindset of the college system at all, and will maybe even make it worse in the very near future. Yes, it'll help tons of people now, but next week, next year, problem not solved. Who else feel like they are going to be single forever? I might be, but it doesn't bother me. I would rather be single than be with the wrong person. I don't think I'll be single forever. I just think I'll be single for as long as I keep trying to date on my own terms, which is almost worse. I am, but I don't mind. I'm 39 and never been on a date, and after about 20 years of trying with nothing to show for it, and thousands of dollars wasted, I gave it happens, but I couldn't care less if I find anyone. I'm happy just working and burying myself in my hobbies. It feels like it, but I certainly hope that isn't the case. I have hope I'll meet my perfect partner one day. Probably not soulmate, but perfect partner for me. Feel. No. I know, because that's what I want. About 1/3 of the people in their March 1st, 2024. Been alone all my life, 32 years, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. So forever is likely. It drives me insane when I'm told you'll meet someone or you haven't met the right person yet. Please stop. The majority of young men. What's been ruined by social media? What hasn't? Reviews. It really used to be just someone's opinion. Now you have to check if it's not an ad. Grounded reality and real connection to people. Relationships. People. Respect for each other. Meals. How people see themselves. Morals. Privacy. Grammar. Vacations. Fear of being punched in the face for saying some shit you wouldn't dream of in person. Sleep. Discourse. The chance to fuck up once in a while and not have it absolutely ruin your life. Many casual interactions. Virtually everything. Perceptions of how we see ourselves and each other. Growing up. Self-esteem. Lives. Everything law. Actual online content that was actually fun. Families. Trend seems to be negative, yet we are basically everything. These so-called influencers. People. I'm less willing to give people the time of day based on their social media content. Back in the March 1st, 2024 and early March 1st, 2024, you had to spend time getting to know the people. Wedding photographers of Reddit. I'm a videographer and the groom called me a couple days after the wedding. He wanted me to make sure I didn't include any footage of him checking out the women at the wedding. No joke. I recognized the groom from a Grindr. So many to choose from. Two that immediately come to mind. Groom would not make any eye contact with the bride. So many photos where she is gazing lovingly at him, and he's just like 10-yard stare right over the top of her head. Was a tough edit. Groom's speech included a line about how opposite he is from his bride because her friends have never even been to Paris. Best man's speech made the groom out to be a gold digger. He wasn't entirely wrong. And this guy was the groom's best friend. When the groom engraved "fuck you" on the bride's ring. One of those hotel venues that can run 2 weddings at the same time. Bride from our wedding is found in a hotel room with the groomsmen from the other wedding doing coke before the first dance. End result was we got paid and told no need to edit or deliver pics. Safe to say it didn't last the night. Said this wedding, and the best man, the groom's brother, starts his speech. Well, welcome back everyone. Good to see some new faces and some old ones. Whoever created the tradition of not seeing the bride in the wedding dress beforehand saved countless husbands everywhere from hours of dress shopping, and will forever be a hero to all men. I read that this tradition exists because in the past women were basically traded into a richer family by marriage. They were kept far away from the guy because the poorer family didn't want to risk him not liking her looks and backing out. That's also essentially the origin of why brides wear veils. Come dress shopping with me, sweetie. Sorry, babe, that's bad luck. Pretty sure it's from back in the day when marriage was a political exchange and the people getting married didn't know each other. I wouldn't mind watching my wife try on pretty dresses. Am I weird? It saves every man from the argument of, "Girl, how does this one look?" Boy, fine. Girl, why just fine? I love this. Why don't you like this? Boy, but I said it was fine. Girl, you don't love it. Boy, this conversation happens more in my household than I would like to admit. I wish they would have started the tradition of not seeing your children until they were all grown up. There is absolutely no way a woman came up with that tradition. What is something that isn't as good as it used to be? Ritz crackers. Cars made in America. Reddit. Life. Does anyone remember a lot of the candy bars growing up tasting a lot better? Anyone tried Crunch bars? Chipotle. Reading books. As a kid, it was magical. I was immersed immediately in almost anything I read, and no amount of bad writing could deter me. Gesture wildly at everything. Vegas, Twinkies, television shows really. Subway, what happened? 100 Hollywood. Growing up in the March 1st, now the only thing they care about is making money by pumping out cheap action movies and making a political social statements rather than the content of the writing and acting. People being proud to be American. And Jemima Syrup. Recent media. Sure, we've had good stuff like Everything Everywhere All at Once and Spider-Man 2 to name a few, but shit like Multiverse of Madness, all modern FNAF content, save a few tales from the Pizzopolis stories, and the Marvels. I'm sure you can name some good media, but the amount of trash content is double or triple the amount. People who haven't pooped in 2019 yet, why are you still holding on to last year's shit? But when I finally do, it'll be the year's biggest shit so far. I've been pissing out my ass all fucking day. Bold of you to assume I'm going to take a shit this year. We have guests and I literally can't relax. It's all I have. Quality shitpost. I'm letting go right now as I type. Fuck you, I won't poo when you tell me. Everyone now thinking about the last time they pooped. Nicely played. I do what I want, buddy. I'm constipated. Edit free Bobby Schmurda. Waiting for the Apple Store to open. Let's see who can go the longest in 2019 without taking a this blew up. My therapist says it's because I have a hard time letting things go. It won't come out. I need help. I just realized I haven't pooped obligatory thanks for the gold and sliver. And my most upvoted comment is about poop and #1blessed. I was actually sitting on the toilet at midnight. New year, same shit. I have trust issues. I've pooped twice since 2019 started. Take that 2018 your shit can't hold me back any longer. I literally read this as I sat down from my first 2019 poop.